You believed financial stability was a partnership, an equal burden, a shared endeavor. This was a miscalculation, a fundamental misreading of the script. What you perceived as a partnership was, more often than not, a continuous resource transfer. Understand this. From a cold biological and financial perspective, marriage, for the male, frequently operates as a structured resource drain. Your perception of shared financial burden was an illusion, a narrative designed to maintain compliance. The true equation involved an unacknowledged, often exponential, outflow of your capital and physical effort. The end of the marital contract, therefore, is not merely a loss of assets. It is not simply a subtraction from your balance sheet. It is the cessation of that ongoing, unquantified, and perpetually accelerating resource drain. The tap is off. The leak has been sealed. This is the precise calculation of a previously negative cash flow, now neutralized. The bleeding has stopped. Your reservoir, once continuously depleted, is now yours to rebuild, free from the systemic extraction. This is your new baseline. This is your foundation for rebuilding financial sovereignty. You tallied the direct expenditures, the discretionary income diverted to vacations designed to reignite, the household upgrades meant to pacify, the gifts intended to buy transient peace. These were the visible outgoings, the obvious resource drain. But a true financial audit demands a deeper examination. The real hemorrhage often occurred in the shadows, an insidious operational cost of a fading alliance. Consider the opportunity cost of your capital. How many strategic risks, essential for the acceleration of your financial architecture, did you decline? How many investments with a high potential return did you bypass because the narrative demanded stability for the collective unit? You prioritized perceived domestic security over aggressive wealth compounding. This was not a choice based on optimal asset allocation. It was a decision driven by an emotional calculus, a biological imperative to maintain a failing structure regardless of its financial inefficiency. You traded potential exponential growth for an illusion of safety. Your emotional capital, a finite and invaluable resource, was under constant siege. The chronic stress, the perpetual negotiation, the energy expended in attempts to stabilize a collapsing system, this eroded your cognitive function. This diminished capacity led directly to suboptimal financial decision-making. You delayed crucial adjustments. You missed market signals. You clung to underperforming assets because the primary emotional drain left you with insufficient bandwidth for objective analysis. This was a subtle but relentless tax on your net worth, a direct consequence of a compromised state of emotional sovereignty. Furthermore, quantify the foregone income. Every hour dedicated to conflict resolution, every weekend consumed by relationship maintenance, every mental cycle spent replaying disagreements. This was time and energy not invested in skill acquisition, professional development, or direct wealth generation. This diversion represented a direct and quantifiable reduction in your future earning capacity. Your focus, your most potent economic weapon, was scattered, diluted, and squandered on propping up a structure that was already designed for demolition. These were not line items on a balance sheet. They were invisible liabilities, phantom expenses, the true operational costs of maintaining an alliance past its expiry date. A constant, unacknowledged resource drain. That drain, you will observe, has now been severed. You are experiencing a sudden, unexpected liquidity. Capital flows into your accounts with a velocity you haven't seen in years. This is not luck. It is not some cosmic reward. This sudden wealth explosion is the predictable outcome of basic financial engineering. The primary resource drain has been excised. Consider the data. A significant portion of your financial output was allocated to the maintenance of a shared economic unit. That allocation covered everything from joint liabilities to discretionary spending driven by shared lifestyle demands, and often by emotional appeasement. That capital, previously siphoned into a failing alliance, is now liberated. Your personal financial algorithm, once constrained by external variables, is now free to optimize for your singular benefit. The immediate consequence is a dramatic increase in your net disposable income. Your savings rate accelerates, not through some new income stream, but through the cessation of outward flow. This is fundamental. This is an engineering principle. Remove the leak and the reservoir fills faster. But this newfound capital is not merely for passive accumulation. It enables strategic investment into ventures previously deemed too risky or too resource-intensive. You can now engage in higher risk, higher reward strategies, leveraging capital for exponential growth, unburdened by the inherent risk aversion of a shared economic unit. The calculus shifts. Your risk appetite can now align with your individual long-term objectives, not the lowest common denominator of a partnership. Now, consider the non-monetary resources, the temporal and energetic investments, the hours, the mental bandwidth consumed by conflict resolution, emotional appeasement, and relationship maintenance. These are now yours. This liberated energy is a powerful catalyst. Channel it directly into career acceleration, into skill acquisition, into expanding your professional network. This direct application of freed cognitive load results in increased capacity for income generation. It is a feedback loop. More capital, more time, more energy leads to more capital. This entire financial recalibration is a direct consequence of reclaiming your emotional sovereignty. With emotional entanglement severed, your financial decisions are no longer filtered through the lens of compromise or appeasement. They become objective, strategic, optimized for your singular advancement. You operate from a position of cold, calculated logic, free from the biological imperative to maintain an alliance that no longer serves your individual survival or propagation. This is not about getting rich quick. It is about understanding the mechanics of a system you were previously blind to. This newfound capital is not a dividend for unmanaged consumption. It marks the commencement of your unrestricted capital phase. This is where you transition from reactive spending to proactive engineering. Every unit of currency now represents potential, free from the previous resource drain. Your immediate objective is debt elimination. Consider debt a biological competitor, siphoning your energy, diminishing your optionality. It is a liability that compromises your emotional sovereignty. Extinguish it with surgical precision. This is not about peace of mind. It is about reclaiming fundamental control over your economic matrix. Once that parasitic drain is severed, pivot to strategic asset acquisition. Evaluate real estate, high-value equities, or business ventures. These are instruments for wealth multiplication, often deemed too risky or simply out of reach during your prior allocation constraints. Your focus shifts from maintenance to exponential growth. Critically, you must invest in the primary asset, yourself. Education, skills acquisition, health optimization, rigorous physical conditioning. These are not self-care rituals. They are direct, calculable investments. Each dollar directed here fortifies your long-term sexual market value and expands your earning potential. This capital is now exclusively dedicated to your trajectory, unburdened by external influence or obligation. This is how you rebuild the foundation. This is how you engineer your financial apex. You have been conditioned to view divorce as a financial collapse, a net negative. The immediate tangible outflow of assets, legal fees, settlements, alimony, triggers a primal alarm. Your biological programming registers this as a resource depletion event, a direct threat to your survival. This is the short-sighted view. This is the script you've been fed. The reality is different. The wealth explosion you are about to witness is not a windfall. It is the inevitable outcome of eliminating systemic inefficiency and reclaiming absolute control over your resource allocation. For years, perhaps decades, your economic unit was designed with a fundamental flaw: a continuous, often unquantified, resource drain. This drain manifested in various forms: supporting a lifestyle beyond your singular ambition, funding another adult's consumption, or simply maintaining a shared infrastructure that did not optimize your individual return on investment. Your former relationship, in purely economic terms, often functioned as a non-performing asset, absorbing capital without generating a proportional return for you. You were funding a shared enterprise where your direct benefit was diminishing, while the overhead remained constant or even increased. Now, that parasitic drain is severed. Your capital is no longer diverted. Your financial resources, your time, your emotional bandwidth, these are now under your absolute, singular control. This is the architect's new economy. You are not merely saving money, you are recapturing your productive capacity. You are redirecting capital from systemic inefficiency back into your own sovereign economic zone. You are no longer subsidizing another entity's existence. This is the moment to cease reacting to perceived scarcity. This is the moment to start engineering abundance. Self-pity is for the weak. Control is for the architect.